Now to Capitol Hill, where the Secret Service and FBI received more rough treatment Tuesday over agency failures before, during, and after the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump on July 13th. Senators on the Homeland Security and Judiciary Committees questioned Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe and FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate about the communication and timeline leading up to the shooting. When asked by Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota what exactly went wrong, here's what Rowe had to say.
What I saw made me ashamed. This was a failure of imagination, a failure to imagine that we actually do live in a very dangerous world where people do actually want to do harm to our protectees. I think it was a failure to challenge our own assumptions, the assumptions that we know our partners are going to do everything they can. We didn't challenge that internally during that advance.
For more on this, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion. Nikole, I got to stop at that failure of imagination assertion. Isn't the whole point of the Secret Service to imagine a world in which presidents and former presidents can get shot because presidents have been shot in the past? How did that go over?
Yeah, well, in terms of the acting Secret Service director, I mean, keep in mind the Secret Service has a no-fail mission, right? So he clearly acknowledged that in this case there was a major security lapse and failure that occurred. But in terms of that failure of assumptions he referenced, he went on to say in the hearing that he thought, or the Secret Service thought, that local law enforcement had eyes on that roof. And so that was a mistake in his view, and he said going forward that they will make sure that they also have counter snipers that are also there with local law enforcement. So that was one kind of reference that he made. But the other, in terms of, to your point, he did talk about the Hinckley assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan, and said in that case, Hinckley was somebody who stalked former President Jimmy Carter for months before that assassination attempt happened against Reagan. And he said in this case, with respect to Thomas Crooks, he was a lone wolf. So also suggesting that perhaps they didn't see this coming.
And Nikole, Deputy FBI Director Abate revealed more information about the shooter's profile and so forth. What did we learn?
Well, he laid out a more detailed timeline of what happened, including the fact that local law enforcement did flag a suspicious individual who in turn happened to be Thomas Crooks well over an hour before the shooting actually occurred. And what happened to a certain extent is that there appeared to be some miscommunication, and the Secret Service director acknowledged that as well, saying, at no point did they know that Crooks had a gun or a weapon, and that they were having some issues with the radio communication, even though local law enforcement flagged that earlier in the afternoon in a text chain. And at one point, too, there was an instance where officers lost sight of the gunman a few minutes before the shooting actually occurred. So there were some missteps that both the FBI deputy director and the Secret Service director acknowledged, but it did shed more insight into that timeline and, in terms of potentially what may have transpired, but still for a lot of lawmakers, a lot of questions about that timetable and why, again, the president was allowed to take the stage and why this event went so awfully wrong.
Nikole Killion on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much, Nikole.